Iradu Marang Muji. G'day, friends. I'm Axel, and you're listening to the Yarns with Axel podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by a good mate of mine, Noah Smith, who is a proud Gomeroi man. And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I record from, which is Gundungara land. And I would also like to acknowledge the land on which Noah is recording from, which is Garigal land. And I pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture, and hopes of our First Nations people. G'day, friends. Welcome to Yarns with Axel, episode 1. We're here today with Noah Smith, also known as Noah Wombats, and I'll take it over to him to introduce himself and give a bit of a bio.
Yama, thanks Axel for having me on. Love your work, brother. I'm Noah. I'm proud descendant of the Gomeroi people from northwestern New South Wales, up Tamworth way. I live here in Sydney, beautiful Garigal country. I've grown up in Sydney most of my life, lucky enough to see the beautiful country it has to offer. I've also been very fortunate to work with a lot of different people so far and use my experience and the knowledges I've gained from community and from a lot of people in my life to go and talk to people like different government ministers and different government agencies and departments and not-for-profits to try and help talk to them about how to better incorporate young people, particularly young First Nations people, into the conversations and help give us all a seat at the table.
Awesome. And I'll start off. I'll say when I was thinking of doing this podcast and I was thinking, well, now that I've got it, I've got to get guests on here now to make it interesting. No one just wants to listen to me all the time. And you're the first name that popped into my head. I thought such an inspiration to me and so many others, I bet. And I know you do so much, man. I wanted to start off. You're quite involved with the Youth in Parliament program. I was just wondering if you could tell us all a little bit about that and what you guys do there.
Yeah, so the Youth Parliament program, which is run by the Y New South Wales here in New South Wales, and it's a international program that started off in America in the early 1900s. I think it was the 1920s or something. So it's been going for quite some time, and it started off. The first one in Australia was in Brisbane in the 60s, and there was like 2 of them, and then there was the first one in New South Wales. Started in 20-something years ago, so the early 2000s. And it's been running pretty much every year since then. And it's a really great program that's run by the Y, which used to be known as the YMCA. And it allows for young people to be involved in the parliamentary system. And so I've been fortunate enough to be involved with it in the 2021 Youth Parliament, 2022 and 2023. And so I had such a great time over those 3 years. I've grown a lot as a person from it, made a lot of really close lifelong friends from that program and a lot of really good connections with MPs and politicians and people that work in policy work. I was very, very fortunate to be the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs in 2022. And that gave me a lot of insight, and we worked on a pretty cool report because we were sitting in the upper house of New South Wales at the time. And this report allowed basically for a treaty to be created in New South Wales, which I'm really proud of the work my whole team put into that.
That's awesome, mate.
Yeah, it was great. And we presented it to Ben Franklin, who was the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs at the time. And it was a really good day, and it was a really good achievement, and something I'm always going to be very, very proud of. And then last year, I was lucky enough to be the Youth Premier, the Y New South Wales Youth Premier, which was an absolutely amazing opportunity. So I was able to run the government party, which was a really amazing opportunity and something I'm really, really grateful for. And the team at the Y are just absolutely incredible. They run this program in such an amazing way. And I was also very lucky to have a really good team of young people to work with me. And I'm still friends with a lot of them, and they're really awesome. And part of that team was my Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, my dear friend Esther. And we were able to write up some legislation along with the rest of our team that basically legislated a voice, an Aboriginal voice to the New South Wales Parliament. And we worked really hard on it. There was quite a few late nights and a lot of phone calls trying to get it done in time. And we were lucky enough that we were really proud of the product we produced. So we put it to the floor of the House for it to be voted on by all of the young people that represented their various electorates from across the state. And it was passed, which was such an amazing feeling and such an amazing progression for Aboriginal people. Even though it is just in the youth parliament, it was something that we were then able to bring to a whole lot of community groups such as the Aboriginal Legal Service and Reconciliation New South Wales, as well as the President of the Legislative Council of New South Wales, which was a really great feeling and a really great day back in January, where we were able to showcase that as part of the WISE First Nations Youth Voice, the work they're doing in that space.
Yeah, wow. That sounds like such a deadly program, and it's must make you feel really great. It makes me feel great just hearing about the amazing things that you guys have done there. What does it mean to you to be able to do this stuff and to have these opportunities to be heard and have such an amazing group of people and an amazing team?
Yeah, I've been really lucky that it's meant so much to me, and the Y in particular. They've been really helpful with me, and a lot of other young people there through scholarships. And I know, unfortunately, I'm not returning back this year to the program, but there are 75% of the young people who are doing the program this year are on some form of a scholarship, which is absolutely amazing. And they're getting the support to be able to be involved in these programs, and a program that very much helped me shape my advocacy and shape a lot of the work I do today in my various other things. I'm also super fortunate to sit on the Y New South Wales First Nations Youth Voice Reference Group, which has allowed me pretty much to share my opinion on a lot of these things that the Y New South Wales is doing when it comes to First Nations young people. And that's another opportunity I got through doing Youth Parliament, and something I'm also really grateful for. And it's a way that young people can be involved in a system that wasn't designed for them, and can be involved in a system where otherwise they would have very, very little involvement. And it teaches them how valuable our democracy is and how to use it and how to advocate for the betterment of young people, and particularly for me, young First Nations people.
Yeah, wow. And that's so incredible to hear, man. I could listen to you talk about that all day. Just not even 10 minutes in yet, and you're already talking about a lifetime achievement. Is that something that you might want to go into as a career after school in Parliament or something
Oh,
along
I
those
think
lines?
I think definitely there's a lot of work that can be done for the betterment of our people, for mob, by working in Parliament, and that's definitely something I want to take a look at. There's a lot of work that can be done in policy. I think there's a lot of young people that'll be like, oh, I really want to end up as a member of Parliament. I think that's a really great way to achieve a lot of this outcome. So I'm not ruling it out, but there's a lot of work to be done in policy as well, and in a lot of those government agencies. There's a lot of work to be done as a big surprise to no one. There is a lot of work to be done in every area of government, and I definitely think politics is one way to tackle that.
Yeah, of course. And that's awesome. But we're going to move on. So We've I've recently joined you. You started this program all by yourself, and it's been such an incredible thing that you've done, man. We're through the Department of Education, more in particular the arts unit. It's an Indigenous advisory group, and what's that all about, man? Because that's such a cool thing, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. But you're the brains behind it, so I'll let you take over with that one.
Yeah, it's something I've worked really hard on, and I'm really happy that our initial meetings went so well, and our consultation meeting, and the work we're now putting in and gonna keep putting in, so we can get this launched and come back swinging for a next meeting pretty soon. But it is a group of Indigenous students from across New South Wales. In our initial consultation meeting, we had people from Goulburn, Sydney, Newcastle, I think Coffs Harbour, far south coast, and Wagga Wagga. Oh, yeah, Wagga Wagga and Dubbo. So all across New South Wales, we had a lot of people. We did it hybrid, so it was online and in person. And the idea came from a meeting my sister and I had with the arts unit about a year and a half ago, saying there's a lot of work to be done in making sure Aboriginal young people feel safe in the arts unit and a lot of these programs and feel like they are respected culturally and that their culture is being honoured and reflected in a way that is true. And the arts unit, full credit to them, they were very much on board and very much willing to work with us, which is absolutely amazing and something I'm super grateful for is their support with this project. And to think now we have a pretty decent sized group of students, and we will be looking into everything from events that we want to run for our people. So, whether that's a dance workshop, they already run a lot of dance workshops with the Bangari rekindling team. Amazing, love them. If you get a chance, go to them. But also to run like corroborees or big meetups or exchanges between schools. So all these extracurricular events that we want to do, they're going to help us run them and help us facilitate them. But also we can give them advice on their big projects like School Spectacular, like Pulse Alive. So we're going to have a really great opportunity and a really great partnership to work with them so that we can give our advice on how to better run their programs and they can help us facilitate on programs we want to run.
Yeah, wow. And so it sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome. And so we've got stuff like dance workshops and like a bunch of cool stuff. And I remember when we were talking about it, you mentioned to me it was back at School Spec last year, I think it was, or maybe a little bit before. And just I remember hearing your idea and I thought, yeah, that's no one knower. It'll definitely go ahead and it'll be the most best thing ever. And I'm really glad it's come ahead and I'm really glad we've got so many awesome participants, and I know it's going to go far, and it'll carry on for a long time, I reckon too. And
Yeah.
so, speaking of the arts unit and stuff like that, you've come back recently from hosting or being a student co-host at School Spectacular last year. So, what was that like? That looked like a lot of fun. I was there. I saw you up there. Looked awesome.
Yeah. It was great. It was a really great experience to be out. I was one of the student co-hosts, and I was co-hosting along with my friend Olivia. We were co-hosting the Spec Fest. And Spec Fest, for those of you who don't know, is Outside School Spectacular, which is a great event run by the arts unit, and it turned 70. Was it? Yeah.
70 or 80, I can't remember. Something like that, though, yeah.
Or was it 40? It was old. Like, it's
Might have been
old.
40.
It's been
Yeah.
going for a long, long time, and we were very lucky to be there at this pretty new initiative they were running. SpecFest has only been around for a couple of years, and we were lucky enough to jump on and make it into a really big show. And we had amazing acts from all across the state. We had really amazing bands who were playing in the surround sound band competition, which is a really great regional band comp, and you know all about that, being a former winner of that
Yeah.
yourself
Oh,
and a
no.
judge last year.
Yeah, no, it was all right, but it was good to be there and looking at you up there. I remember sitting up in the judges box, and I think you were doing the main stage there at Specfest, weren't you? You were doing the Battle of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Bands and that, and you looked like you're having a ball up there. All of yous did. I saw your TikToks that yous all made behind the scenes, and it looked like a lot of. And I bet you they were for promotional and that I'm guessing, but a lot of fun too. And I could tell that people were walking around really enjoying themselves there, and reckon you guys had a little bit to do with that, or a lot to do with that, I reckon.
Yeah,
Because everyone
I got
like,
taught how to
sorry,
use I got taught how to use TikTok, and we filmed a lot of like TikTok and reel videos for the arts unit, which was a lot of fun and great to be involved in the content creating process and learning those new skills.
yeah, and sort of the behind the scenes to some of the stuff that they
Mm.
do there too is really cool. I remember walking back, I think they do it at Kudos Bank, is that what it's called? Kudos Bank
Yeah,
Arena.
yeah.
There in Sydney, and just thinking of some of the names that have played there and thinking that we get to do this here too. Like, it's not just celebrities that get to come here and play, we get to as well. And just walking back, seeing backstage and all, that's where that band, that's their dressing room, and sort of stuff like that. But you would have done some exploring backstage, I reckon, and
Yeah,
with
it's pretty
that.
hectic down there.
Oh
All the
yeah,
all the posters of all the acts that have played, all with like the signatures on it. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
and just spotting what ones you like. But no,
Mm.
that's good to hear, man. And sort of moving on, I guess. With you also you work at Bush to Bowl, or is that a program that you still work
Yeah,
with?
yeah. So I've worked for Bush to Bowl for about 2.5 years now. They're really awesome, 100% Aboriginal owned social enterprise based up here on the Northern Beaches, and they work with bush foods and cultural education, as well as food sovereignty. So it's a really awesome field to be in. So we get to teach people, educate people, schools, preschool kids, so people of all ages about our traditional foods and our bush foods and how we'd use them. And we also have a nursery where we grow plants, and we also sell the produce and work with schools and different community groups, which is something I'm really, really grateful to be a part of. And the team there, they're like a second family. I hang out with them outside of work as well. So they're absolutely incredible. Massive shout out to Adam and Clarence, who are the two founders of it. Absolutely amazing guys. I've learned a lot from them and a lot from everyone else on the team, and it's really a great place to learn and to share knowledge because we all bring our own knowledges from our own mobs and our own families. And yeah, it's something I'm really grateful to be a part of. And one thing that is pretty cool is that the bush food industry, multi-million dollar industry, right? I might go on a bit of a rant here, but
No, you're
it's
all right. Go
only
ahead.
2% Aboriginal owned. So it's this huge, huge industry, but only 2% is owned by the peoples whose knowledge it actually is, which is a real shame because our foods and our food sovereignties and the practices were taken from a lot of us when we were put in reserves and when we were put in missions. We lost our ability to use these foods and our ability to teach our young ones and to teach and pass on the knowledge about how to use our traditional foods and medicine. And now there is a huge industry of non-Indigenous people profiting from this knowledge they stole from us and wouldn't let us use. And now they are the ones who are profiting from us. So I'm really grateful to get to work for an Aboriginal company in this space that is working on building up other Aboriginal people to go out and make their own businesses or to grow this business so that we can make more of the market and we have more of a say over how our knowledge is taught and what knowledge is taught and how we access our foods and how we share our foods.
Yeah, right. And so what made you come across Bush to Bowl, and why did you want to become a part of it?
Yeah, well, they've always been really awesome with reaching out to local mob, particularly young mob, such as myself. And so I was actually I found out about it in two ways. I was at school one day, and I was also at home the day, like night before, day before, and something got sent around from one of the local Aboriginal organisations, and it had a message on it saying, "Oh yeah, are there any young black fellas who want to come have a go working here? And we've got some jobs going." And so this was around when Bush to Bowl was about 10 months old, 11 months old, and they were just moving into Terry Hills out of the Balgala Heights Primary School where they started. And so I saw that and I sent off my resume with an email. And then a couple of days passed and I DM'd them on Instagram. I was like, oh, yeah, just I applied for your job. And then Clarence messaged back and was like, oh, awesome. Do you want to come up on Saturday and do a trial run? And I was like, absolutely. So I came up on the Saturday that they were like opening. It was the first day they were open to the public, helped them. It was a rainy day though, unfortunately, but I helped them set up a couple new grow beds and some of the plants. And then they were like, great job. Do you want a job? And I was like, absolutely. So I came back the next Saturday and been there pretty much every Saturday since then.
Wow, what an opportunity. It sounds awesome. And I've seen some of the stuff that goes on there. It looks like a great program. Next time I'm up in the Northern Beaches, I'll have to come check you out.
Yeah, we'll give you some finger limes and some little plants to take back to Goulburn with you.
Oh, yummo, sounds good. And I guess we go back a little bit. We met at a leadership camp a few years ago, and
Yeah.
we've we've sort of gone to every single one together since then, haven't we? So they're really awesome programs, aren't they? Led by Macquarie University, and
Yeah.
it's sort of an open week, I guess, not like an open day, an open week into what it's like going into uni. And what was it? What did it mean to you to be able to be a part of that? It was all Indigenous kids there, and it was just a great environment and vibe to be within.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout out to Wallangamarua at Macquarie for their organisation. They were one of the first universities to run a lot of these programs for mob. Um, yeah, so they bring mob from all across the country to Macquarie, and we get to do a couple days um, as different uni classes, and quite a few other unis do it now. I've done ones at UCID and ANU. So yeah, Macquarie, UCID, ANU. I know a couple other of the unis around New South Wales and different states as well run other programs. But yeah, all of them I've gone on. They've all been incredible places to meet other young mob who are interested in going to university, or even ones that aren't, but just connecting with other young people, particularly when we're all going through a very similar stage of schooling. And I think that's something that's very important, particularly when you don't have a lot of Indigenous kids at your school. It's that way to connect with other people like yourself and build that relationship that like goes well beyond it, like our relationship. Like we've when was that? That would have been
It's probably a good
2 years ago,
2 years, yeah.
two and a bit years
January
ago.
2 years ago or something, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so it's been it's been a while, and we're still mates. And I know we're both mates with some of the other people we went on the camps with.
yeah,
So
sort of every one we've been on, there's been a new group chat that's evolved and still around, and it's good to see, like,
yeah,
and good to, even though we haven't seen them in person for ages, we've still talked to everyone there. Like nearly every day, we're sending messages to each other, and it's like we've known each other forever now. But I guess we have now. It's gotten that long, but yeah, I
yeah.
see where you're coming from with the connection side of things.
And when you bump into them, I remember bumping into one of our mates in Dunedoo when I was traveling through, and it's just yeah, those connections you build with people from all across this country, really. And the other aspect of it, which is that leadership and pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but at the same time, it shows you that places like university and these tertiary educations aren't just for white people, like they can be for Aboriginal people as well. Like we can take up space in a university, we can go there and we can learn and we can get the skills that we need. And a lot of the times, the way stuff is taught might not be perfect and it might not reflect our culture. But we can learn from that, and then we can bring that knowledge into whatever jobs we want to do to help change the system. Because what a lot of mob end up doing is regardless of what work they do, we always tend to work for the betterment of our people and our communities because that's just the nature of who we are as people. We work to help one another because we are very caring, very compassionate people, and that's because of our kinship and our families and just our communities as a whole. Because, as you know, it takes a village to raise a kid, not just one person or two people, and it just helps build that connection that's greater than just one suburb or two suburbs. It builds you a network across the whole country.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when so they give you get the application form, you hear about it first of all and get the application form. And after reading about it, what really stuck out and what made you really what made you need to be on this camp, I guess? Like,
Yeah, well, it's just because I always thought, oh yeah, like I want to go to uni, but I had no idea really what I wanted to do and or how to do it. I had like a rough idea, but I know a lot of people don't when they do it, and it's something that's very, very good for is giving you an idea of what you want to do and the pathways to doing it because you see people who are only a few years older than you but are on that pathway and doing it, and it's a really, really, really great way to do it and a really, really great way to get that immediate, like, oh, there's someone just like me who went to a high school just like me, who's black just like me, and they're doing this. I can do it because it's hard to be what you can't see.
yeah,
And
that's exactly
so,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, nice. And it's so many different pathways within that pathway too. Like there was, I think, science one, sports one, an arts one, and just a bunch of cool stuff. And through that, there was the critical thinking early entry pathway, which was a really great early entry access point for Indigenous students who were still in. We were in year 11, I believe, because you did it, didn't you
Yeah.
too? Didn't you?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
both
So
did it.
yeah, and that was really cool. So what was that like to be able to study uni and to be able to say you were a uni kid, but you're still in year 11?
Yeah, it was really awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was cool to know that other people like yourself and some of our other mates were doing it. As well as it's a really good thing because you get the idea of what uni's like, as well as completing a subject that goes towards or has the potential to go towards your degree in a lot of cases. So it's a very, very cool thing, as well as getting early entry. Depending on your mark, you could get early entry to Macquarie for that, and that's something that's really reassuring. But even if you didn't end up going to Macquarie or don't end up going to Macquarie, it's a really great way to be like, okay, well, I know how university works to some extent now, and it sets you up for the next stage of education.
Yeah, and really good insight, I guess, into the world of university.
Yeah,
And yeah, the people there, Wollongomaroo, they were so inviting, weren't they? You could just go in and talk to them about literally anything you wanted to, and they would talk back with a really great answer, and you'd be there, find yourself an hour later talking about the same thing somehow, but it would always be entertaining, and it would never the entertainment would never drop. There was always something fun to do there, whether it be with
yeah,
mates, whether it be exploring the wonderful campus they got there at Macquarie, all around there, and the facilities that Wollongomaroo has. And so
yeah.
you're also big congratulations to you. You got school captain recently, and you're also on top of being an already huge role model on kids at your school, kids in your area, kids all across Australia. What does it mean to be able to represent your school at stuff like Anzac Day, or being able to speak at ceremonies, or just being able to wear that badge and embracing the captaincy?
Yeah, it's something pretty cool. I'm very proud to be the school captain at Barrenjoey High School. Big shout out to Barrenjoey, and yeah, I'm the first Aboriginal school captain there, which is pretty cool. Found that out just after I got school captain, so I was like, that's a real big achievement.
That's huge. Yeah, that's massive. That's
Yeah,
such something to be really proud of.
yeah, and it's pretty cool being able to bring that history and that background of being mob into a role like that, where you get to work with people in the school for the betterment of the school. And I'm sure that's something you've probably found. Also, congratulations to you also being school captain.
Ah, thanks, mate. No, yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, so
Yeah.
what sort of thing what made you wanna run for captain? Was it to be able to lead, or what was it, just to
Oh, I guess it's something I've always wanted to do. Didn't get school captain in primary school, so I was like, oh, give it a crack in high school, see how it goes. And it went pretty well. But yeah, it's something I'm very proud of and very happy that I got. And I'm really happy I work with a really incredible team of other students. And yeah, and they're more than just a team or colleagues, they're my friends as well. So it's something really awesome to get to work with people that you really like, to try and leave a place where you've spent 6 years at better when you leave it than you did when you found it.
Yes, that's exactly right. I remember just walking in my first day of high school in year 7 and seeing the school captains and thinking, "Wow, it's I wanna be that one day," and I'm sure you would have too, and stepping up in each year, just seeing, "Oh, so those captains did that this year, but these ones did that this year." And then you start to think of what you would do if you were captain. And then I guess being lucky enough to be captain, you can finally start putting those ideas into place and getting things into motion to leave your own mark on where you've spent most of your life at that point. A good half of it at least. As you mentioned before, you just come off country, and what does it mean to be on country and to stay connected to it when you're not on it?
Well, country is so important. As you'd know, it's like a key factor of everyone, all mobs' identities. We're all tied to the land and sky and sea country as well. It's very important that we don't forget about those. I'm from freshwater mob, but I live on saltwater country, so I know how important the ocean is, and the totems of the ocean. And yeah, so something I think about a lot is that even when we're not on our country, we still are on someone else's country, and we're still very connected to that country, because even if our ancestors didn't sit and didn't walk on that country, we are here now on that country, and that country sees us, and we see that country. And even in places like Sydney, it's so important to remember that it's not just country when you go out to the national parks or when you go to the bushland. Country is everywhere. Country is all around us. When you stand in the middle of Goulburn Street or Pitt Street or Clarence Street, when you stand in the middle of these things and you look up at the giant buildings, what are they made from? What are buildings made from?
Concrete, glass, just nothing, no dirt, no nothing.
Yeah, but what's concrete made out of?
It's made out of water. It's made out of rock,
Exactly. And what's glass made from?
sand,
And where does sand, rock, and water come from?
country.
Absolutely. So everything around us is country. We are on country all the time.
Yeah,
So
and country is
beneath,
all around us.
yeah, beneath the roads, that's country, man. Like, we live on country. All of Australia and our surrounding islands, a lot of our surrounding islands, that's country. That is a place where we have been for over 60,000 years. And people have been living in these places. And you'll see the marks and you'll see the remnants of where people have lived and the histories entwined with that. And that's a really beautiful thing. And something personally that I do to stay connected to country, because country is very grounding for me. It's something when I've got a lot on my plate or a lot going on, and I get a bit overwhelmed, because we all get overwhelmed. We all get a bit stressed, a bit anxious about schoolwork or all these things going on. Because for a lot of us, particularly for mob, it's not just school and it's not just schoolwork. It's families. It's everything. And the way the system is designed, you always are pushing to be in that space, regardless if you know you have a spot at school, like a table at school. Going to school, being in that spot is very draining, because it's a system that isn't designed for us. It's like swimming upstream. It's very difficult to swim upstream. It's much easier to swim downstream. But it's like whenever we get in the water, both ways are upstream. So regardless of where we are and where we're going upstream. We're pushing, we're fighting, we're making space for ourselves. And that's very draining. So it's so important that we connect and sit on country. And whether that be to smell some of the plants around you, or to have a piece of country with you, or to hold something physical. And it doesn't have to be physical, it can be intangible as well. Whether that's sitting and shutting your eyes and listening to the sounds around you, whether that's just sitting down on the grass outside, looking up at the sun, up at the sky, whether it's listening to the birds, or one of my favorite things is eating our traditional foods. That is one of my favorite ways to connect with country. Whether that's kangaroo, even if it's from Woolies or Coles, even if it's from a butcher's somewhere, kangaroo or emu or lemon myrtle or macadamia nuts. Like, those are things you can buy in most shops.
Yeah,
Maybe,
that's right.
maybe not emu, but the other three you can buy in most shops. Or learning about the bush foods where you live and where you grow, or that grow near you. Because even in the city, there are so many bush foods that I see every day that I'm like, oh, I can eat that. Or my old people would have eaten this one or used it in this way. And it's something you can take with you and carry with you across almost anywhere you go. I was lucky enough to go to America a while ago, and I was there. I was like, that's a tuckanut tree. That's a lily pilly. That's a eucalyptus. So all these plants that are like our traditional foods are just out vibing in other countries and other continents. And I'm like, that makes me feel connected back home. That makes me
Yeah,
think of back home.
yeah, that's it. And it would have been good to be, because of being so far away, it would be nice to have that connection, even through a different country, whether it be through a plant or through a food or whatever it may be. It all links back to home and to country.
Mm.
And I guess we'll finally, I'd just like to ask you, for anyone that might want to get into anything that you've done, you've achieved so much already, and like whether it be the youth in parliament, whether it be bush to bowl or spec fest or hosting or school captaincy even. Just what advice would you have, or what advice do you wish you had before you kicked off any of this sort of stuff?
Yeah. Well, one thing that we haven't really touched on much, I'll just like quickly chuck it in, is I also sit on quite a few different advisory groups. I'm on the federal government's First Nations Youth Advisory Group. Oh, I was on that. I'm now on the federal government's First Nations Education Youth Advisory Group. And I'm also on my local government, so Northern Beaches Council's Youth Advisory Group as well, and some other various ones for other organisations. And those are always something I've found, and a lot of my friends as well. They've asked me, "Oh, what can I do, or where can I start?" I'm like, "Start here, do this," because there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of roles where people genuinely want to hear from your lived experience, and particularly for mob, there's a lot of places where people want to hear what you have to say. And when you get to a place, not all of them are going to be great, not all of them are going to be perfect, not all of them are going to want to listen, but a lot of people do still want to listen, and you'll find one that wants to listen, and the way they can listen to you best is by upskilling you and helping you to communicate better. And that's something that's pretty cool. Like a lot of these organizations, whether it's your local government, whether it's an organization like the Y, want to help you be better at sharing your opinion and expressing how they can better help you. And so something I wish I was told is people genuinely want to hear what you have to say. For a lot of young mob, we feel, I know I can feel like people don't actually care. The system's the way it is, and there's nothing really we can do to change that. But then, even if it's one person, or two people, or three people in an organization that want to make that change, your voice is the most valuable thing to them. Your opinions and your voice is an asset. That is what you have been given, and that is what you can use, not only to make things better for yourself, but for your community. And you can use that voice. You can go out, you can say, I don't like the way this is, I think it should be better.
Exactly, and that's exactly why I've started this podcast, and it's just about if I can share culture to one person, I've done my job right. Like it's all about not only embracing culture, but being able to share it so that people can take it on to their families and to their young ones' future on, and just keep it alive and hopefully in a way grow it from what it currently is. Because there's a long way to go, but it's anything that we can do to put our hand up and do our part is worth it and will be worth it in the long run.
Yeah. Like, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
How have you found, like, at school and doing all the amazing stuff that you do as well? Because, like, you do crazy stuff too.
Thank
Like,
you.
how have you found trying to bring your cultural background in and, like, embedding that in? And how's that impacted on where you are today?
Well, it's I just I love wearing culture too. Like I love embracing the indigenous patterns and different designs and paintings all through clothes. And when I'm performing, yeah, there you go. I've got the indigenous brown shirt on here. But when I perform on stage, all my guitar, I'm a guitar player, and all my guitar straps, they've all got my auntie Donna painted a indigenous painting all along them, and they all tell my own story. And also just sitting down with people, like sometimes people come up to me, whether it be at school or wherever, and they have a question, and they're not they don't want to be rude, or they just want to make sure they're doing something right and not in a disrespectful way. And I really appreciate them coming and asking the question instead of assuming, because that's what a lot of people do, and just being able to answer their questions and even being the one that they think of to ask the questions to has been something that is really appreciative in my life. And just yeah, in any way that I can do it, any way, shape, or form in sharing culture, I've done it or wanting to do it, and probably planning to do it too. All right, guys, and unfortunately, that is all we got time for today. Just want to say a big thank you to Noah for coming out today. It's been lovely talking to you and everything, and you're such an inspiration, such a great man to talk to. The words just flow out of your mouth like it's nothing, man. You're so fluent with it. And a big thanks to everyone for listening. This is our first episode here at Yarns with Axel. Hopefully, it all went well, and we'll see you in the next one.